Let's bring back Hasan Unal, who is the head of the Department of Political Science and International Relations at Maltepe University. And he's been with us, kindly been with us for the past several hours here on set.
It's a pleasure.
Well, thank you. All right, so looking back to sort of this call by the steering committee and the full page ad that they've taken out on the U.S. Post, something tells me that this extradition is never going to just be about the facts, not going to be about the claims, whether about the things he may or may have done. It's part of a much larger, sort of complicated relationship between the United States and Turkey. Am I correct in assuming that?
Well, I would say yes. I would agree with that largely because the Turkey and the United States don't seem to eye to eye with each other over a number of issues. Just over a number of issues, for instance, each of which is quite dear to Turkey. Let me just say, for instance, what is the United States basically doing in Syria with a terrorist organization like the PKK, which is an offspring of the PKK, and the United States diplomats and the military actually acknowledge that they are an offspring of the PKK. They're not playing basketball there. Okay, they are doing something which is detrimental to Turkey's national security, to Turkey's, it is a clear threat to Turkey's territorial integrity and all that. And again, on the question of, for instance, Cyprus, we hear call on the question of the Eastern Mediterranean and Turkey's efforts for drilling and for gas and oil in the region. And we keep hearing calls after calls from Washington to stop that. And I would just ask the question, why? Why is the Greek Cypriot side right in carrying out drilling activities in the same region, but the Turkish Cypriots are not? Or why is Turkey not allowed to? Who is going to prevent it, and under what law? The international law. No one is above the international law, and the international law, basically, as far as the treaties and the international law are concerned, Turkey has the right to carry out these search and drilling activities in the Eastern Mediterranean for natural gas and oil.
Okay.
And why do we keep hearing all this calls from the United States then? And the Fetullah Gülen issue is another. Okay? Why is the United States administration is not looking into it seriously? Okay, there is the legal side of the story, but you don't even hear sympathy from the United States side with regard to what he did in Turkey. Okay? Well, occasional lip service, okay, occasional lip service here and there, okay, but then when it comes to nitty-gritty details of what needs to be done, then the Fetullah Gülen thing basically takes the backburn, because there are so many other issues between the United States and Turkey. For instance, purchase of the S-400 and blah, blah. And then you put all the focus on that, and then you say, so the Fetullah Gülen issue remains in the background.
But do you think that the United States has ever been sort of very open, very sort of close to understanding some of Turkey's concerns? I mean,
no.
When we look at sort of even the comments that they make about the PKK, which they themselves actually have branded a terrorist organization, you know, we say these classic statements that we see from every whether it's a State Department briefing or a Pentagon Department of Defense briefing, you know, we stand by the people of Turkey. We understand their fight against terrorism. It's done for national security. These are sort of very sort of common and easy phrases for
the
U.S.
I
side
know.
to make.
Well, don't forget, I mean, we had our ups and downs in our relationship with Washington, D.C. during the Cold War years. Okay, there is the notorious Johnson letter arriving in Ankara in June 1964, which certainly poisoned the relationship. And then there are other instances like the Congress decision to place an overall arms embargo on Turkey and all that. But what I would say is that And since the end of the Cold War in particular, the United States seems to want to format its relationship with Turkey anew. And in that new formatting, it seems, for instance, you get lip service from the United States about Turkey's fight against the PKK. But when it comes to what needs to be done, there is no material support from the United States for Turkey's fight against the PKK. Or, for instance, again, on a very important question like the Cyprus question, what you get from the United States is, for instance, when you say to them, well, Yugoslavia disintegrated, 7 states came out of it, and you recognized all of them. Czechoslovakia basically disintegrated in a civilized manner. 2 states came out, and you recognized all of them. And some of these states have already made their way into NATO. Some have made their way into both NATO and the European Union. And what about Cyprus? And then the usual narrative comes out, well, Cyprus is different. Why is it so different? Then why don't you put same degree of at least pressure on the Greeks to bear, for God's sake? For instance, would you not expect the United States to say about the Turkey's drilling in the Eastern Mediterranean? Why doesn't the United States call for restraint on both sides instead of saying, stop it? You are Turkey, you stop it. You get out of the region.
That's a good question.
Why not you call for restraint and then you say you call for restraints to both sides, okay? It is a tango there, and there are both sides to the conflict, okay? And why don't you basically tell both sides to act with prudence and caution?
Well, I think it's more rather than, it takes 2 to tango, but rather sort of implying or imposing one law onto one side and actually not doing it for the other side. Hasan, thank you for the moment.